July the 12th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at images from the pot farm raid there in California. I think it was a couple of these there in that area. And this is owned by Glass House Brands. You can look it up on the stock market. Largest, fastest growing in the U.S., possibly in the world. It is very huge. And you're looking at protest from the raid yesterday. Now, I did a market trend search to look for the investors in Glass House Brands. And now Newsom is not listed as one, but they hide 67% of the investors. They only have like the top 10, and 67% is unlisted. But it did say that Glass House Brands is a major contributor to Newsom's campaign funds. Kind of the same thing in a way. But again, it got very violent there. There were people that were attacked. There was one guy I mentioned this morning that got killed trying to hide or climb one of the 30-foot buildings. But it was really disastrous. Look at some of these scenes here, busting out the windows right there in the windshield where the drivers are. It happened on several vehicles. Right here is where the gunman, where I've got the arrow right there, the guy in the black, looks like he's reloading and ducking. And then a couple of these images were from the park in LA a couple of days ago where Mayor Bass came out and showed her butt. And Newsom was the biggest fake crocodile tears you could ever imagine yesterday after the pot farm raid. Again, major contributors. Now, they busted, 8 or 10 miners there. Now, Newsom and them they haven't brought that up. None of the mainstream media is talking about the miners because that changes the entire laws and the repercussions from what we're dealing with here. Now, the DHS assistant Tricia McLaughlin said, as the California marijuana facilities, ICE and CBP, law enforcement rescued at least 10 migrant children from what looked like exploitation, forced child labor, and potentially human trafficking or smuggling. Now, Newsom and them say they care about the people. They don't care about the taxpayers that they're ripping off. They do care about their new voters, and that's really becoming a problem. Now, Trump saw what we're looking at, some of these background images of ICE getting attacked. We're going to look at a few more before this video is over. It's not long. Just hang in there. And he was actually on the plane coming back from Texas when some of his staff, I guess, started showing him the images of what ICE was going through there at the weed farm. Well, he put out a presidential order, and we're going to read about that here in just a minute. But he brought the hammer down on him. He said he could not believe what he was seeing. We will read. And this is a picture of the kids. It looks like 2 females. One was 14. I don't know if it was a girl or boy. One was the only one that was what they call an accompanied minor. So where are the other 300,000 kids? How much more do some of the politicians know about? But again, Trump was flying back. We're going to read some of that as you look at this. There's the guy that's got a $50,000 reward out for him, firing that pistol. And again, Trump has said no, he doesn't ever want to see what you're looking at right now happen ever again to any law enforcement officer. Any. Not just ICE or in California Border Patrol and all of that. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more coming down the pipeline as far as security. And Trump wants them, he said, stop the cars, get out, arrest them, and imprison them. And these guys are paid. Some of these people here are paid. This is just an excerpt from that truth tweet or whatever you want to call it, but it says, arrest the slime balls. I'm giving total authorization for ICE to protect itself just like they protect the people. Here's the whole thing. He said, I'm on my way back from Texas, this was yesterday, and watched in disbelief as thugs were violently throwing rocks and bricks at ICE officers while they were moving down a roadway in their car and or official vehicle. Tremendous damage was done to these brand new vehicles. I know for a fact that these officers are having a hard time with allowing this to happen in that it shows such total disrespect for law and order. And that's exactly what it is. It is anarchy. Therefore, I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and Board Czar Tom Homan to instruct all ICE, Homeland Security, and any other law enforcement officer who is on the receiving end of thrown rocks, bricks, or any other form of assault to stop the car and arrest these slime balls using whatever means is necessary to do so. I am giving total authorization for ICE to protect itself just like they protect the public. I never want to see a car carrying a law enforcement officer attacked again. Authorization immediately granted for arrest and incarceration. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And again, we watched Trump live there in Texas, and then he started getting this information on that flight back. But guys, this thing now is diving into rabbit holes that we weren't really expecting. But again, we're going into child labor, smuggling, exploitation by possibly the governor and other people in California. Now, I'm sure this is spread across the nation. There's many of these so-called workplaces and things like that. But I think we'll start seeing new tactics on both sides of this deal, and it's time for some arrests to be made. The owners of this place need to go down for those kids being there, and all but one were unaccompanied minors. And then we need the politicians that are inciting this violence. And now we know what they're really screaming about is their stock, their political pocket money, and their new voters. That's it. And things were changing pretty quickly, but now I think it's going to escalate, and we're going to see some big differences. But I think you're going to see some extreme violence rise up, be quickly shut down, and then we'll have to go from there on how that continues out. But they want this type of situation formed. Again, we will unleash the nihilist is the motto of the group that loves to see this happening. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.